Hey everyone, it's Ivan with KeepAgile.com, out here for another gear review, and today we're talking barrels. This one right here, which happens to be carbon fiber by Helix 6 Precision. I will say straight out the gate, this was basically a really cool project that I was able to do with Helix 6 Precision, and it involved some kind of hard to source parts on my part. But they can absolutely make them like this for the MiniFix, as well as a bunch of other barrels they do, whether they're pre-fit for like Savages, things like that, AR barrels, all kinds of other stuff. But what are they? Kind of broad strokes. Well, they are a carbon wrap barrel. There's some kind of nuanced stuff, some unique kind of proprietary stuff that goes into it with respect to how they actually wrap their barrels, and it makes for a pretty amazing barrel. So what are some of the benefits to include some of the unique stuff? Well, they are carbon wrapped, so with that, weight savings, up to 50% lighter or compared to rather, like a steel barrel of the same contour. And then you also have thermal dissipation. So because of the higher ratio of carbon to like resin or metal for that matter, they end up cooling a lot quicker, which can be beneficial. And then due in part to how they actually wrap theirs, you have thermal dampening, harmonic dampening, which basically less movement in the barrel, so more accuracy. And something that's actually pretty neat and pretty unique with these is the way they actually make them. So some carbon fiber barrels, basically of the barrel, they wrap it and that's your barrel. And if you were to cut the barrel down for whatever reason at any length, it all comes undone. It does not work. These you can actually just continue to cut back if you are like, hey, I want a 24-inch whatever barrel. You get your 24-inch carbon wrap barrel by Helix 6 Precision. Then you realize that with a can, incredibly unwieldy out in the mountains, you're like, what I actually need is an 18-inch barrel because I'm going to still get plenty of velocity for the distances I'm shooting, and now it's more manageable. You can cut and thread that, which kind of unheard of in the carbon fiber world. Unfortunately, this is rock set on here. I'm not going to break it loose to basically show you that shoulder on the carbon fiber, threads, all that stuff. But on here I have the rooted in manufacturing, their muzzle brake. Not a huge fan of shooting with brakes, but if I'm going to shoot this gun without a suppressor, which occasionally I do, it's more beneficial for the kind of shooting I'm doing to have a brake on there rather than a flash hider. But usually shoot it suppressed with Trash Panda. So this gun, it is the MiniFix by Q. Thing's amazing. Reviewed it before. When I reviewed it in 300 Blackout, which is how it comes. It was also offered in 224 Valkyrie. As a cartridge, it probably came to market too soon. I don't think that cartridge ever performed kind of the promise it said it was going to be. Now probably 6-arc, yeah. Probably does everything 224 Valkyrie kind of set out to do. But this was offered in, and I think still is, 224 Valkyrie. Why is that important? Because 224 Valkyrie actually shares the same bolt face as 6.8 SPC, which pretty neat caliber, honestly kind of before its time. As I understand it, kind of died on the vine due to politics, but basically an intermediate cartridge for an AR platform that was significantly bigger, larger, basically more kind of terminal ballistics out of shorter barrels at closer distances. Pretty neat, but didn't really go anywhere. However, I wanted to do a pretty cool project, so I was like, that's just historically kind of a cool cartridge, and I imagined it would probably do really good on deer. So I set out for this project. So as I mentioned earlier, special project with Helix 6 Precision, which basically involved me getting a bolt, 224 Valkyrie bolt from Q, as well as that barrel extension. You can go do that. It's going to involve buying basically the barrel kit for 224 Valkyrie from Q, which will give you that barrel extension and the bolt. But with that, ended up sending it off to Helix 6 Precision, And yeah, made me this 6.8 SPC barrel for a MiniFix and done a bunch of shooting with it. Which brings us to how have I shot this and how is it done for me? Well, as I set out to do, ended up getting to do some hunting with this. This rifle, the MiniFix, at the time chambered in 5.56, 2 years ago, I guess now. My youngest son brought down his first buck with it. Really cool, awesome experience. Again, it was chambered in 5.56. And then going back this last year, his second year hunting, he was shooting this gun as well. Or again, I guess, and brought down another deer with it. Really cool experience. So glad to just be able to share that with him. And then I guess 2-3 days later, that last morning we were down there, I ended up actually getting a really nice buck with this same gun, barrel, 6.8 SPC. It was pretty cool. And yeah, like I like this thing. It is cool. I then, in part because one, I like shooting this gun, it's a lot of fun. And two, I like shooting sometimes things outside of their intended role. Actually shot this, had removed the optic, put some ScalarWorks peak iron sights on it, and shot it in Desert Brutality 2022. It was a lot of fun shooting it down there in that competition.
By the military-industrial complex. Potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. Yeah. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberty or democratic rights.
Drop bag. All right, careful with the muzzle. Hey! All right, good throw, good bounce. All right. Hit!
Hit! Which brings us to accuracy. What kind of accuracy have I gotten out of this gun with this Helix 6 Precision carbon fiber barrel? Well, I will say first and foremost, I've never shot another 6.8 SPC gun, so I don't know how inherently accurate that cartridge is, or for that matter, the ammo that you can actually buy for it. There's kind of a limited selection, like only so many people make it. There's not tons of like different variations of match ammo and stuff like that out there for it, but I ended up taking this gun, went to the range, shooting 5-shot groups at 100 yards with this optic on here. And I will say for all my shooting, I ended up taking the can off, mainly because I kind of dipped into a interesting experiment kind of towards the end. But what I didn't want to do is have this thing just continue to heat up, deal with mirage, stuff like that. So shot all my groups without a can, which it was loud. I wish I had the can on there. But here's what I got shooting those groups. My first group with PPU, 115 grain hollow point boat tail, coming in at 1.41 MOA. And my second group with some vertical stringing, coming in at 2.28 MOA. Switching to some S&B, 110 grain. First group coming in at 1.16 MOA. And my second group coming in at 1.69 MOA. Switching to some Hornady 110 grain VMAX. First group coming in at 1.3 MOA. And my second group coming in at 1.4 MOA. Then with some Silver State Armory 115 grain hollow point boat tail, first group coming in at 1.36 MOA. And my second group coming in at 1.03 MOA. If we get rid of that, if that was a flyer, group shrinks down to 0.54 MOA. Unfortunately, not tons of variation with respect to ammo to shoot groups with, but I ended up doing something kind of interesting. Having talked to John, he was telling me about how one of the things that his customers had noticed with his barrels from Helix Precision is they can like heat up and usually not move very much, and if they move, usually really consistent. So if you're unfamiliar, if you start shooting a barrel, wild things will end up happening, especially metal barrels, especially thin metal barrels. You'll start having groups open up or massive point of impact shift. All kinds of stuff can happen. So what I ended up doing was shooting through those groups I just showed you, and then as fast as I could, basically shot through 80 more rounds. Had a bunch of magazines already loaded, shot, pretty much just shooting at the steel target at like 300 yards, I don't know, 6-inch circle or something. Was hitting most of them as quick as I could pull the trigger. Again, part of the reason I didn't want to shoot with the can on there, but shot through all 80 rounds, hopped back and shot some more groups. Revisiting that Silver State Armory 115 grain hollow point boat tail, first group coming in at 1.41 MOA. My second group coming in at 1.35 MOA. And then hopping back to that S&B 110 grain, first group coming in at 0.85 MOA. And my second group coming in at 0.85 MOA. That to me was actually really impressive. Had I done that with most other guns, there would have been wild deviation. And if anything, it seemed like the groups almost kind of tightened up a little bit. How? I don't know. Magic. One thing I will say that was pretty neat is there was consistency to it, which shooting is literally all about consistency. And so those groups of mine, basically, it looked like they shifted down about 1 inch, which, why did they shift down and not up? I don't know, man. Barrel harmonics, bullets do weird things, but it was consistent between those two different things of ammo. Yeah, shot groups, burned through 80 rounds as fast as I could, shot more groups, and I had a consistent, basically, drop of about 1 inch at 100 yards, which, if you have consistency and it's knowable and repeatable, i.e. consistency, then that's pretty huge because you can actually use that information, at distance. I've been really pleased with the accuracy I've gotten out of this barrel. It's pretty cool. One, it's been fun just shooting this kind of fun project, being able to hunt with it, to include with my youngest son, and it's cool. On the one hand, there's weight savings, which is very real depending on how you use your gun. If you're shooting off a bench and you carry it from your car over to said shooting bench, probably doesn't matter. If you spend time in the mountains or carrying a gun around, doing things, weight matters really quick. And then on top of that, again, I don't know what the, initial accuracy was or is of 6.8 SPC. I was plenty happy with the accuracy I got, knowing that not the greatest shooter. But what really impressed me too was that thermal part of it. As far as heating this barrel up, shooting 80 rounds as fast as I could, and then slowing back down and shooting those groups and watching them kind of shrink some and very little movement, which that's pretty wild, pretty impressive. I recognize this is like a special project, and if you want to do a special project like this, you will most certainly pay for it on numerous fronts. One, You got to buy the stuff from Q to include 224 barrel, so you can get the barrel extension and bolt. And then you got to get basically custom work done by Helix 6 Precision. But if you would like to get pretty much all the benefits of those Helix 6 Precision barrels without jumping down the pretty much full-blown custom route, you can absolutely do that. Like I mentioned, they have a bunch of pre-fit barrels, barrel blanks, to include like AR barrels, AR-10s, stuff like that. A lot of really cool stuff. There'll be a link down below where you can go check out kind of all their different offerings. And last but not least, if you appreciate my content and want to support it, greatly appreciate it. Whether it's just sharing videos or going over supporting me directly either on Patreon or Utreon. All that stuff helps me go out, create more content for you, and over there we have an active Discord. Happy to answer all your questions over there. Not only that, but get early access to videos. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadge.com. Look forward to seeing you next time. Then some Silver State Armory, 115 grain hollow point